Unfortunately, Drew, you know it can't end because we have to talk about one more film, Redbelt.
Yes. Would you like to guess, even before I begin, how I felt about this final film, Scott?
Did you think it was great?
That's it. It was great, yeah. 2008's Redbelt, again directed by Mamet. Wait a minute, hold on. He did, didn't he? No, I'm silly myself.
Yes, he did. Yes.
Yes, sorry. 2008's Redbelt, again directed by Mamet, brings our total of likeable, good, morally that is, characters for the podcast up to 1. We've reached the heights of 1 moral character. In this case, Chiwetel Ejiofor's Mike Terry, the master of a Brazilian jiu-jitsu school in Los Angeles. A former soldier with a never more than hinted at experience of dark or questionable things done while serving, he now spends his time trying to help and to teach people to better themselves through the instruction of martial arts, far more concerned with honour and integrity than mundane matters like making enough money to pay the rent. A point of contention for his Brazilian wife Sandra, played by Alice Braga. The calamitous arrival into his dojo one night of a distressed woman, Laura, Emily Mortimer, sets in motion a chain of events that will see Mike's belief in his warrior's code and his desire not to fight competitively sorely tested, as a tale of stolen goods, stolen ideas, suicide, dodgy boxing promoters, though I'm pretty sure this is another tautology, and difficult in-laws harshes the shit out of his beatific mellow. There are 2 inciting events, in fact, though end up connecting, with the other being Mike saving Tim Allen's drunken action hero. He's reasonable in the role, to be fair to him, but Tim Allen as an aging action movie star is a tough sell. Saving him from a bar fight, something that will send him into the orbit of Joe Mantegna's shifty movie producer, with everything coming to a head during the I can't believe it's not UFC contest between Mike's brother-in-law Ricardo Silva and Japanese challenger Takeda Morisaki, real-life martial artist John Machado and Ensign Inoue. David Mamet cannot write, or certainly cannot direct, a satisfying or surprising twist. A problem then, when so much of his cinematic output seems stuffed to the gunnels with twists, and such is the case here, particularly when we are, presumably, supposed to be blindsided by the revelation that the old Asian man behind the mask, who is clearly a young Asian man walking very stupidly, is in fact the young Asian man we met early in the film, portraying his trick of transforming a small black object into a small white object. He can undermine expectations though, as the film spends a lot of time with the undercard of the Silva versus Morisaki fight looming in the background, like Chekhov's pay off your debts quickly plan. And when it seems that it's actually going to happen, I was deeply disappointed, since it seemed to be unfitting to Mike's beliefs and philosophy, enforced by circumstances it may have been, and it would have been far more interesting for this fight film to not actually have a fight. The manner in which a physical contest does provide the film's climax then is much more satisfactory than I feared it would be, even if, despite the upbeat if credulity-busting ending, there's no way once the cameras stop rolling that Mike's not going to prison for many, many years. As Mike, Chiwetel Ejiofor is the film's main draw and saving grace. The serene, noble, honour-bound, if perhaps self-delusional warrior feeling believable and engaging in his hands, and not as preachy as it could otherwise have been. It's something Ejiofor has done multiple times, in fact, if in somewhat different takes in the likes of Serenity and Doctor Strange. And simply as a character, it's also refreshing to find a decent person in one of these films. In the end, though, Redbelt is another film this selection advises it best to, listen to me boys, fine.
So we've agreed that Redbelt's great.
I enjoyed that.
I have to say, Redbelt was... I hadn't seen this before going into this, but I was always curious because it's David Mamet doing a martial arts film, and it seemed like a bizarre concept, and that's more or less what it's proven to be. In a lot of ways, when I try to think about what I was really thinking about this film, I found myself falling between two stools, because either it's a drama with martial arts elements that doesn't really deliver on the drama portion, or it's a martial arts film with dramatic elements where the martial arts film elements don't quite deliver, and it falls right between those two stools. But thankfully that's where I am, with my mouth open, waiting for it to fall into my mouth, so that's fine. I turned out to really like Redbelt. There's a lot of things in here that I do like, particularly Elijah Forrest's performance. Now, the only issue I'd take with what your description of the events at the end is is that there's no way that Elijah 4 would have found himself in prison because he would have been shot. Let's be honest. Recent events have proven that there's no way he would have survived that final act. However, that aside, yeah, his character arc, I think, works out incredibly well throughout the performance of the film. Yes, there's no twist in here you couldn't see coming a mile away, particularly when you introduce a character who's doing sleight of hand for no reason. Yes. Other than at the end of it, it's like, okay, right, I see where you're going there. Thanks. Cheers. But yeah, yes, I don't know whether I really want to say that I really like this film as being one of the kind of martial arts films that would have been absolutely spooged about if it had starred, say, I don't know, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Johnny Yen, whoever you like from these kind of periods during the time, that would have been like the best martial arts film because it has such a great dramatic background in it. And if it was judged as being a martial arts film that had some nice bits of character development and all that stuff going on to it. But coming into it from more of a traditional Mamet canon, then you wind up thinking about this as a dramatic film that has some really underdeveloped dramatic moments. Like all of Emily Mortimer's character is so woefully underdeveloped that she seems like a really good character. I really enjoy her performance, but she needs to be in more of this, particularly for what happens during the end performances and all that kind of stuff. And the thing that happens with Lee Joel's wife, again, it just doesn't tie up dramatically. It's a really strange film. It doesn't quite manage to tie up its martial arts roots and its dramatic roots. I love it for that. I think that's what makes it such a unique and interesting film to watch. It's not a great film, but I think it's a good film to watch. I think if you have any kind of appreciation of like film from a more kind of critical theory, this is a fantastic film to watch. You can get a pick like what could have been done a little bit differently, what could have made it a little bit better on either of these two axes, or whether you judge it as like a martial arts genre film or as a kind of traditional drama. And we can talk about whether it's fair to actually split that up as a critical consensus or not. But still, overall, it's a fascinating film to watch for a number of reasons. And even that aside, it's just quite an entertaining film to watch because everyone in it's quite good. And it's the action, as it turns out pretty good. So, yeah, I have a number of beefs that I could go into with it, but I don't think it's worth doing so in this arena, other than to say I think Redbelt's quite a good film to watch. I quite enjoyed it. Give it a go.
Just like to your point about Emily Mortimer, although it's really the case with all of them, is like the problem with the characters is that they have characteristics, but they need some backstory. And it's like a while, like Tutor Ejiofor, so much that his serenity through it kind of papers over some of his. Like, there's slight hints about, like, when somebody asks him, "Did you tell him what you did when you were a soldier?" Okay, what's that? And when Emily Mortimer was introduced, it feels like she's getting like drugs for someone else, but they seem to be for her. Given you see her taking them in the cafe with him later.
Yeah,
but it's like there were hints there, but like I need more. And the Alice Braga thing was the one bit I didn't see come because she kind of disappears in the film for about half an hour.
Yeah.
Is that like it makes sense? Like she's fed up. She's worried about this money that she's borrowed that she can't pay back, and that all the dodgy promoters are involved with her family. So like the whole family pressure, like that she would go to them, makes sense. She drops out of the film for half an hour, so you don't know when It's kind of frustrating to me. Like, it's fine. I enjoyed my time with it. I like Tutor Ejiofor a lot. It's just that, I don't know, the characters need kind of more character. There's just, it frustrated me more than anything, rather than some of the other films I just actively disliked.
I agree.
I didn't actually actively dislike more than one of them. But it's kind of frustrating because I think it's a weird martial arts film, if you want to call it that. But I was enjoying it. But again, it's more frustrating. Like, I want more. More character.
I was thinking when I watched this is the one time you'll almost never hear me say this. I wish this film was longer. I wish this film had a bit more time to kind of delve into these characters. I mean, one thing we don't mention in all these films is Mamet's efficiency tends to put him to, 95 minutes is maximum for his scripts. I really think this could have done with about another at least half hour going into some of the character backgrounds with some of these guys. But I think I've made my feelings clear. I think it's worth watching, so do it.
So do I, just in case you're confused. I'll say, enjoyed my time with it. I mean, but like Mamet himself, it's made not a huge amount of impact on me, and I'm quite confident I'll never return to it, or any of these films, bar Glengarry, Glen Ross, but glad I saw it once. It's certainly worth watching the once.
Absolutely.